because Nate Diaz making headlines again.
What's
He
going
did it.
on?
He did it by the simple press of a button and sending a tweet on the Twitter sphere. Basically, Nate Diaz has requested his release, Dominic, from the UFC. He added Dana White. He added some poor guy named Hunter on Twitter that's not Hunter Campbell that people were going after. Now that guy's name on Twitter is Hunter, in parentheses, not UFC guy.
I like it. I like it.
Um, he might have had Sean Show. I don't know. He was at Dana and the boys, as I
Yeah.
call them.
Yeah.
Said, "You guys won't give me a fight. I want out. I got things to do." Was putting some emojis of a beach. Perhaps that Bellator card in Hawaii is still on his mind. So Dominic, I'm curious: is there much to take from this? Is Nate Diaz serious, or is this just a bit of him kind of trolling the UFC for being slow to get him that fight he wants?
I think that's the latter there. Trolling, like,
Yeah, I guess I
you know,
said that. I guess I kind of revealed how I
I,
felt by
I think
questioning
it's
that.
frustration,
Yeah.
like, what is the holdup? And specifically, why are we still sitting here? It's about to be April this coming weekend, and we don't have Diaz versus Poirier. I don't. What more do you need to sell a fight than these two going back and forth, agreeing
Yeah.
upon everything? I don't. And again, we're not in the back office. I
Yeah.
realize it. I fucking wish I was a fly on the wall with the boys because I don't get it. I think this fight's massive. I don't understand what the holdup is. I know it's Nate's last fight on his contract. I know there's weird stuff that goes on when it gets to that instance, but this is Nate Diaz. This is different than some other dude that's a ranked fighter or someone. This is one of your biggest stars in the company. He clearly wants a big fight against one of the other biggest stars in your company now, Dustin Poirier. This fight needs to happen. I don't understand the holdup. Dustin's frustrated. Nate is clearly frustrated, and he's letting it all out on Twitter in a funny way because he's getting a lot of reception from it. But I think it's genuinely like, what the hell's going on? I want to fight. I'm asking you. I'm begging. I'm pleading. Give me a fight. I don't get it.
So I partly agree with you, but I will say that I think Nate is very aware of why the UFC aren't giving him the fight yet. And again, this is all speculation. A lot of this does come from Ariel Hawani, I'll admit, where I believe that the UFC want to re-sign Nate Diaz.
Hmm.
So there's this reluctance to just straight up give him the fight he wants unless they get something in return. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Because I don't think they want Nate Diaz to go test his value elsewhere. I think they would like to keep him in house. He's one of their biggest stars. Um, and it's just a control, right? I mean, everybody wants that. You have a guy like Nate Diaz who maybe isn't his best days are probably behind him, but he is still good for some big fights.
Oh yeah.
You have those matchups with Masvidal, with Conor McGregor, with Dustin Poirier still out there that would be three of the biggest fights that the company would ever be able to do.
Yeah.
Um, and then if after that, let's say he lost all three of those in a row, well then the value's lessened to the point where you don't really need him anymore. So that's just the monopoly or that's the politics I think being played out behind the scenes. It's very frustrating as a fight fan because
Yeah.
we don't care about that. We just legitimately want these two to fight.
Yeah.
These two want to fight each other.
Yeah.
Dana says they want to make that fight happen
Yeah.
because the fans want to see it. Well, obviously, there's a reason why it's not happening then.
Yeah.
And I think it's still going to end up happening, but I think Nate Diaz is more trolling. I think it's a bit of tongue-in-cheek, like, he is frustrated, but I think it's because, truthfully, I think Nate might legitimately just not be all that interested in fighting anymore.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he is truthfully nearing retirement. He's even tweeted out like, "Hey, I'm out, peace." Kind of like
Yeah.
the old Conor McGregor
Yeah.
retirements kind of deal. He's been a ball on Twitter lately,
I
but
mean, it's just this guy. The guy has only fought a couple times in the last like 5 or 6 years. I mean,
yeah,
he could think of that gap between the second Conor McGregor fight and when he came back and fought Anthony Pettis.
you're right.
It was, I think, around 3.5, 4 years. Um, I'm sure there was some pay stuff going on with that or whatnot, but I bet a lot of it was just Nate. He made a lot of money in a couple years more than he had made in the previous 10, 15
Ever.
he was competing before that.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a part of him that's like, do I really need to keep doing it? I mean, I
Yeah.
know he wanted a third Connor fight and stuff like that, but he's also a guy who wants to do it on his terms. And Nate Diaz, as great as he is, I'm not sure if all these matchups I mentioned, I don't know if he gets to do it on his terms.
Hmm.
He might be the B side on all those matchups. I mean, I would say with Dustin, he's bigger than Dustin, but I think the UFC value Dustin more a little bit right now. So
Yeah.
there's a bit of Nate wanting to do things his way on his terms, and the UFC don't play by that sometimes. The other fighter on that matchup ain't gonna play by that. They have their demands. It's obviously more complicated than just one guy wanting to fight one guy, but I so wish it wasn't. Why can't it just be simple, Dom? These two want to fight. I still think it's going to happen, probably in July or August, but the fact that it wasn't booked already is just so surprising to me. But it all comes down to this little tug of war being played, I think.
I'm going to ask one question, a yes or no, to finish this
Okay.
subject. Do we see, and I'm not even going to say Nate versus Dustin, but do
Okay.
we see a Nate Diaz fight announcement before the end of April? Essentially, we have 1 month to work with.
Before the end of April,
Do we see a Nate Diaz fight announcement?
let me think of the time frame. I just said July or August. I. Oof. Wow, that's a great question. And you know what? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say that this thing might get to mid May before we get that announcement. But once we do, buddy, you best believe we're going to be here to talk about it.
I was going to say no as well, so now we do agree on that, but
So
it's
unfortunate to agree on that. I hate to agree on that.
it's just it's hey, let us know there too, because I'm just ready for this to be over. I want that fight. I don't even, dude. If they do Nate Dustin, Nate Connor trilogy, still a fight I need to see. If we never get to see the Nate and Connor trilogy, now I'm just ranting. I feel like that would just be such a
Missed opportunity.
yes, a missed opportunity to never fulfill that trilogy, because regardless of their stature and where they are in their careers, that trilogy is always going to make
I
sense.
mean, honestly, it already has kind of lost something at this point. Like it should have
It's been
happened right
so
away.
long, so
I mean,
long.
if the UFC were adamant about not doing Conor and Floyd Mayweather, which I know was so massive and did so much for Conor's life, and just it was one of the biggest pay per views in combat sports history. But if that fight doesn't happen, that trilogy definitely was the next fight, right? I mean,
I
that was
think
definitely.
I think if they do that trilogy immediately, as in their next fight following the rematch, that absolutely smashes UFC 205 when they headlined and Conor became double champ. I think it rivals, not beats, but rivals Conor Habib. If they would have capitalized on it at that time after the second fight and done it, boom, trilogy, it would be up there. Probably
I
second best
you,
pay per view
you
ever.
yeah I would probably agree with you. So I still think it's huge now, but it just the longer they wait, I think the more it
Yes.
loses.
Yes. I agree.
Now